Hey everybody, Bill in Virginia. So picking up where I left off in the last video, standing in the same location, but I've been doing a little bit more here. And a porthole, well, you can actually see two of them because there's the one on the other side visible. I added these in. Not that I was having problems, but I thought it'd be kind of cool, you know, for little kids. They'd be able to see the trains, the O scale run by. And it's easier for me to get in and wipe track different directions than crawling on my hands and knees under there. So I added one here, and then I added another over here. So just again, access, a little visibility on the inside of the layout, you know, not a whole lot, but just to kind of give me that extra reach. Now I did not do one around the corner on that side, and I'm not, because I've got a support running right smack in the middle, and that's where I would like to keep it for symmetry. So I'm not gonna do anything on that side. Next thing that I'm going to get started on is I'm going to get my hacksaw, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to shape these different areas, kind of get rid of the abrupt corners, kind of make it so I'm a little bit smoother for putting on Sculptamold. So I'll show you as I go through that on a few areas here. So the trimming of the pink foam board is actually really easy. I'm using the same saw blade that I was using to cut my track, and it is a T2, what is it, 32, there we go, 32 teeth per inch. Fairly high-end blade, but still nice. So real easy, like if I'm wanting to cake it off, goes through nice and smooth. You know, if I would take the blade down a little bit more, you know, I can do a wide variety. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to do that to a lot of areas, not all, but a lot. And then this will be ready for Sculptamold. I'm still looking at materials for Facia. I've got some boards. I can do some on this side and probably this area down here, but I do need to go get another 4x8 piece just because the scraps that I've got are not big enough. But anyway, that's going to come a little later. I'm going to do some cutting and get this ready for the next steps on the scenery piece. Well, a few minutes later, I've come back in with my hacksaw and trimmed off sharp corners in different areas. You can see a lot of areas where I've nipped them. Still have to do this area over in here, but I'll do that a little bit later. Trimmed off a few little corners down here. Also trimmed up some up here. You can kind of see it's now sloping. And that's good enough because the rest of it I can use Sculptamold to pack in and give me the shapes that I'm after. You know, I intentionally want this to be rough and blocky as my rock face comes up. So that's kind of where I am on that. I think what I'm going to do the rest of the evening is I've got a couple of big pieces of the hardboard left that I can use to lay out my cut lines for here. And then a second piece will go in underneath and then can take care of the rest of this. And then the rest of it, I've got to go to the lumber yard, like Home Depot or Lowe's, get a 4x8 sheet, get it ripped down the middle so that I can do this side and then that side of this all the way over. I've got enough little pieces I can do the rest of it, but that'll be coming up. Monday after work, and I've been out on the layout for just a little while. So I've got one piece of fascia installed right over here. And I've got a second piece that I've got in place, and I've got my marks on it, and I've got the marks on the opposite side of where I'm going to be doing cuts, but you know, doing my best to reutilize scrap pieces. So I will get this cut probably Tuesday night, and then we'll go from there and see how it fits, and then I can get started doing some other stuff. I have not got the other fascia boards yet. I'll go to Home Depot maybe tomorrow night, but getting closer to Sculptamold time. Won't be long. And a little farther along on Monday night, I decided not to wait. So I've got the fascia cut. I do need to go get more hardware to anchor it. I've still got a little bit, but I need a lot more of the brass screws to finish this off. So you can just kind of see how that's going to look. I got a scrap piece up there just to make sure that I'm aligning well on the corner, and I am. So tomorrow night I'll go to Lowe's and pick up the hardware that I think I'm going to need for the rest of the layout and continue on my way. So making some progress here. Do see where I've got a clamp over here, and I've glued the hardboard to the support that's running this way. One, so that that seam is flush. So this is all glued in addition to the screw. This is never going to need to come off. There's no trackage, there's no wiring, nothing I can't get access to from the other side. Here, this is tight, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scrap piece of the masonite, just a little, probably 1 inch wide by maybe 2 inch long piece. I've got a gap on this side. I will glue on the scrap piece of masonite, put it on the back so that it holds this seam nice and tight. I'll probably do that tomorrow as well. Right now it's getting late. I'm ready to go in. Tuesday night after work, and once I finished up with that, I went over to Lowe's and got more of the brass hardware. So the fascia on this side of the layout is done. I still need to get more of the hardboard. It's raining here this evening in Richmond, so I will push that to another evening. But this seam turned out pretty good. Like I've noted in the past, eventually I will be painting this, probably a dark forest green. I like the color that I painted the pink foam board over here on the HO scale layout. And it might be that or a brown for the O scale fascia at some point in time. I'll get some test paints and paint it on some scrap pieces before I actually go to town on it. But this part is glued to the frame of the layout. It's nice and smooth. Over here I did add that little piece that I was talking about, and it's kind of hard to see, but there it is. It's just a very small, about really about 1 inch wide and about 2 inches long. Put glue on the rough side of that little wedge, which makes it adhere very well to the rough side of the hardboard that's in here. I will come back a little later and I'll use just a knife and just kind of go along here and get all the little fuzzy numblies off, but that'll come later. So with the weather the way it is outside tonight, I might get my Sculptamold out and just start to kind of play a little bit. We'll see. I'll see what happens here as the evening progresses. Well, Tuesday night comes to an end, and I have got Sculptamold on in some areas. So I started over here. You can see how that's coming in. That will be an area that's logged. I'm starting to get over here where it is rough. Starting to kind of put in a few little shapes, giving a hint of what the rocks are going to look like. I will come back in with the plaster later and make that happen. And I don't think I've got much plaster. I'm probably going to buy some of that. Excuse to go to the lumberyard again. Then I did start over here too. So I'm starting at the top. And the nice thing with Sculptamold, I don't want to get too much on the tracks, but it will dry quickly. It's fibrous, so it doesn't stick. Now, as I get a little bit farther in here, I will put painter's tape on the track here. And as I start to go down, I will cover the bridge. I probably will use paper towels draped over and down until I get much lower. And then I'll use plaster of Paris to kind of blend everything in at the base. But I'll keep the bridge clean because now I can start and kind of start taking it down. And even though it's kind of hard to see, you can see the shapes of the rock units that are in there. I will add additional, plaster when I do the carving, and the pink foam board in this area will just disappear. And as I'm working down here, I'm doing the Sculptamold on the faces, filling in the crevices, so that the Sculptamold that I put on here, once it hardens, it'll actually harden along with the stuff that's packed into the crevices. It won't peel off. It'll keep it there in good shape. So I'm having some fun. It doesn't take long. And for what I do, I put Sculptamold in areas where I'm having rough terrain. So I don't have to go back in and really smooth it up. The plaster and the carving will take care of some of the lumps and bumps in areas that I don't want it. And the rest of it, a lot of what I've got up here already will be covered by vegetation and by ground cover. And, some rocks showing in different areas, but, probably a good 50% of everything that I'm going to have Sculptamold on will be covered in one form or another. So I don't really have to worry too much about it. But that's it for this evening. We will do a little bit more tomorrow, and then I'll wrap this video up and get ready for a weekend. Then I will get hopefully a lot done. So we'll see how it goes. So I've spent a little bit of time to cover the track in the area where I'm going to be working. Got the narrow gauge track covered as well. So I found the like little quarter sheets of paper towels, folded a little bit, make really good covers for O-scale track. And then just some paper towels draped over the O-scale trestle. When I get done, I will be able to utilize most of those paper towels again for other things. Probably when I get to the stain piece of the rocks, which will come later. So I think I'm going to end the video at this point. What I'm going to do on the next one is I will set the camera up and I will do some time-lapse photography of my working in this area, putting the Sculptamold down, as well as, some different other things throughout the video. And we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to call this video good. And tomorrow night I'll get started on the next one. So with that, keep having fun on your layouts. Until next time.